Have you ever gone to work sick because you're scared that if you take the day off, you might lose your job? Of course not. That's crazy, right? That's why almost every country in the world has federally guaranteed paid sick leave. Oh, what's that? America doesn't have it. Aren't we like the richest country in the world? Yeah, that's right. And that's a reality that hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of Americans face every single day. And some of them have finally decided to fight back. The railroad unions have been in discussions with their companies trying to come to an agreement for over 3 years now, and all they're really asking for is some paid sick leave. It's something so simple that it should already be guaranteed for the entire country, especially these railroad workers, considering that they've made their companies a record breaking $21 billion in profits in just the first 3 quarters of this year. To put that into perspective, it would cost about $321 million just to give them a fair amount of paid sick leave. And instead of doing that, they've paid about $25 billion worth of stock buybacks and dividends this year, and have decided to go whine to the government asking for help making their workers stop being mean. And it's working.
President Biden tonight is urging Congress to step in and prevent a strike.
Congress, I think, has to act to prevent it. It's not an easy call, but I think we have to do it. The economy is at risk.
My fellow politicians, this strike cannot happen. We would lose $2 billion a day in the economy, and we must make sure we stop it. Mr. President? Yes, you in the blue. Do you not remember my name? Never mind. Why do we have to take care of this? Why can't we just make the companies take care of it or give the workers what they want? We don't even pay these workers. You're goddamn right we don't pay them. They pay us. We can't let these wealthy people down. President Biden created the Presidential Emergency Board, which gave a contract recommendation to the railroad unions. And the recommendation consisted of a very insulting compromise, including a pay raise over the next 5 years that might not even break inflation, and a mediocre payout when the contract gets signed. And it completely ignored the main request of the unions, which was the paid sick leave. Sorry, Joe, isn't this you?
You know, you've heard me say many times, I intend to be the most pro-union president, leading the most pro-union administration in American history.
Because it's not really seeming like it. And of course, the railroad unions rejected that contract because they're not giving up that easy without the opportunity, if you want to call it that, to catch COVID or catch the flu or stay home with their sick kid or go be with their wife who's in labor without the fear of losing their job. It's something that every American should be given the right to, and it's honestly disappointing that it's up for debate at all. The railroad workers don't even want to strike. Nobody wants this strike to happen because they know just as well as anybody else how many people would be hurt and how hard this would be on our economy. But they've realized that it might be the only way for them to get fair treatment in the workplace. The House of Representatives were able to pass some legislation yesterday which added 7 days of paid sick leave to the contract recommendation. And it even got the support of 3 Republicans. However, when it got sent to Congress today, it was presented in a way where the contract recommendation was able to be approved without the 7 days of added sick leave. And unfortunately, that's exactly what happened. So now we have to wait and see what happens. It's possible that the railroads decide to accept this contract recommendation and continue suffering without their paid sick leave. Or maybe they'll go on an unprotected strike. And I know they say always use protection, but honestly I can't say I would blame them for trying. Because at this point, it isn't even just about the railroad workers. We're watching live as the government bends to the whims of the overly compensated executives of these companies instead of immediately backing the American people, their constituents, who are asking for something so simple it should be already guaranteed for all American people. It's honestly, I'll let Bernie take this one.
Now that may make sense to somebody, but it does not make sense to me.
Senator Sanders has been a big supporter of the railroad workers in this whole situation, and he's been on the Senate floor defending them for the past 2 days. I'll link both of those videos in the description, and I highly recommend checking them out because they're very informative, and he is where I got a lot of my data for this video. But way too many of these other politicians are just going for an easy payday, and they'll act as inhumane as they have to be in order to win their stupid popularity contest in a couple of years. The system is broken, and it really needs help because it's way too unaffordable for working class people to run for government. And that's why it leads to situations like this, where the super wealthy politicians are standing up for their super wealthy friends who keep lining up their pockets because next election time they'll be able to afford whatever propaganda they need in order to convince us that they haven't been treating us poorly this whole time, even though that's exactly what's going on right now. And I know that these wealthy companies and their executives must be significant donators to the political campaigns and whatever other ways there is for rich people to bribe the government, but I don't know the details or how to find the amounts, so I don't want to go into detail about that right now. But what I do know is that these workers hold power to wreak havoc on the economy. And the state of the economy was shown to be the most important topic to the majority of voters in 2022. So you know that this is going to be very important to these politicians come next election time. I don't know what's going to happen with the railroad workers or the potential strike, but I can say that I'm very disappointed in how the government has been handling the situation, and I'm very proud of how the unions have been trying their best to protect the workers. I want to go more into unions another time, but right now, just know that they're the only ones that have been truly doing their best to try to protect these workers. I stand with the U.S. railroad workers, and I give them support, and I hope that you do too. And until we find out what happens, don't you fucking dare get sick.